Hello boaters, welcome to Narrowboat Journeys. Now last week I haven't really been doing many videos because I discovered that I had a leak in my boat. It's not quite so bad as it sounds. I'll mid you on the microphone. That's not so good, is it? Hang on a minute. Fortunately it's not quite as bad as it sounds. Automatically, when the word boat and link are used together, we always fear the worst. So I'm not sinking. It turned out to be one of my windows was leaking. I went to bed the other night and I lay down and reached over for the book that I'd been reading. I picked it up and it was soaking wet. So I investigated a bit further and the whole corner of my mattress was really wet. And water had been leaking from underneath the gunnel down onto the mattress. Pulled the quilt off and the same thing was happening down in the other corner of the bed as well. Another big wet patch there. So that was not good. The trouble with leaks is that your windows can be perfectly fine one moment and then they'll just suddenly start up with no warning, and before you know it, always something important has got wet and ruined and damaged. Luckily in this case it was just the book, which did actually dry out, so I'm alright really. The difficult thing is the entry point. I've recently resealed the windows by my bed and in the bathroom, and so that the seals for those should be good. But anyway, on closer inspection I actually found a defect in the bathroom window, and water was coming in through a little hole there. And amazing how much water can actually come through a small little barely visible gap. It's quite staggering really. And water was coming in through there, coming inside, trickling down underneath the gunnel of the boat, running along the interior woodwork until it found a place where it could leak out, which happened to be on my bed in two places. This is really annoying because the leaking area can be quite some distance away from where the water's actually appearing. So I advise to you, if you have a boat, keep a close eye on your cupboards and things like that. Anywhere, particularly under the gunnels. Watch out for stains in the woodwork, any drips of waters, because they can start up at any time. The main things to look out for are windows. Check all that your windows aren't leaking. Things like mushroom vents, they can all suddenly start to go. Doors, and particularly side doors, seem to be vulnerable to this. And they'll be all right 1 minute and then suddenly they'll start to leak without any warning at all. Some leaks are particularly hard to spot because they may only do it if the wind is blowing the rain in a certain direction. You know, I've had this before. Anyway, with my bathroom window, I don't need to take the window out because that I'd recently taken it out and resealed it. That seal was good. I think what probably happened was that there was a long-standing fault with the window, which someone in the past had put some silicone over on the inside, and probably when I took the window out to reseal it, I probably scraped that repair off without realising that it was a repair. And so it was no longer sealed quite like it used to be. But it's amazing how easily it can happen. And of course the water can do an awful lot of damage. I've had some years ago I was using my laptop, and I use the power supply is a 12-volt adapter to the laptop. Sorry about this very noisy aeroplanes going by, helicopters and things. And I got up one morning and I turned the laptop on and it booted up nicely. And I was just sitting down, just checking my emails and things like that, and I could hear this crackling noise. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't think too much of it at first. But then I realised, because it got louder, that water had dripped from under the gunnel again into the transformer, into the air vents of the transformer, and it was shorting out inside. And I didn't manage to get to it in time to turn it off and save it. If I could have got there in time, I could probably have just dried it out and it would have been all right. But it burned out before I could turn it off. Fortunately, it wasn't too expensive to replace, but it's amazing how easily these things can happen. You know, you can go to get your clothes out of a drawer one day and they're all soaking wet or mouldy. you know, and very often by the time you discover these things, it's too late. The difficult thing for me last week was actually repairing it, because we were still getting lots of rain and this thing was not drying out, so I couldn't put silicone on it to clear the problem. But eventually, after some attempts, I managed to, I think I fixed it now, but I think it'll just be a temporary repair until I can do something a bit more permanent. As I mentioned in the vlog I did about how it all started, my boating life, just about every single window in this boat leaked when I first got it. And it was too big a job because it was winter. We couldn't take the windows out to repair them then, so it was just put as much silicone around them as possible and hope for the best. We lost loads of clothes and all sorts of things got damaged, books and things. And of course the water that comes in has to go somewhere, and it will naturally sort of migrate down towards the back end of the boat under the floor. So I did cut an inspection hatch down there, and I was regularly bailing out litres and litres of water. It would have been enough to sink the boat eventually. So leaks, that type of leak, well, not as serious as a leak coming from outside, underneath, but still pretty serious all the same. It does a lot of damage. So to make a temporary repair of a leak, it depends on your access to where it is. If you can find out, that's what you've got to do first. You've got to find out where it's coming in. Where is the leaking point? Isolate that, try and fix it. At the very least, put bowls under where it's dripping. And if you haven't got room to put a bowl or something like that, you could always stick a towel just to soak up the water. Depends how bad the leak is really as to how much water will come in. Of course, it's a job for nice weather to fix it properly usually. I've recently taken out most of my mushroom vents and resealed them, so they're okay. But what happens, you see, is if there is a little crack in the seal, then the water will go into that crack, and then you'll get a really cold night, the water will freeze, and as it freezes it expands and makes that crack a little bit bigger. And once it's done this a few times, before you know it, you've got a complete leak. You know, and yeah, things are really coming in then. I'm sitting here trying to do this vlog, and I've got Mr. Midge curled up on my lap. He's quite oblivious to it all, really. Aren't you, Midge? Yeah. But anyway, well, that's about all I've been doing this last week, is trying to sort out this leak, and I think I've cured it now. Just need to keep vigilant, and if you've got a boat yourself, just check around, check the woodwork, check for staining in the woodwork, check for little puddles appearing here and there and everything. Make sure you don't put anything valuable like electronic equipment directly under the gunnel, because I think that's the worst area, because that's where the water from a leaky window or a leaky mushroom vent is going to go. It's going to go down under the gunnel and drip from there most of the time. So have a good look around and check, because you may be leak free for years and years and years, and suddenly it will start without warning. So keep your eyes open and be vigilant. Anyway, thank you for watching this. I'll try and do a bit more of an interesting vlog next. I've just been a bit preoccupied really. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.